So, today we are ranking every major sword in Demon Slayer. We've looked at every single blade, from the standard katanas the Hashira used to the weapons that made history. Some of these rankings, guys, are definitely going to be controversial, but when you see the justifications, it'll all make sense. Also, make sure you stay till the end because there is one secret about the number one blade on this list that I guarantee 99.9% of people actually missed during the final battle. Starting at number 15, though, we have Tanjiro Kamado's first black katana. Starting us off at the bottom of this list is Tanjiro's original black blade. Now, when this sword first showed up, it was a massive mystery because of its unique black color. Even his blacksmith Inosuke was disappointed when he saw it because he wanted to see a red blade, as most slayers with black swords don't usually make it very far. But truth be told, the reason this sits at number 14 isn't just because of the color, but rather because of its performance, guys. This was Tanjiro's first sword and his learning blade, but it shattered during the fight with Rui in the Natagumo mountain arc. And even though it's iconic, the sword just couldn't handle the pressure of an upper moon-level threat. And yes, Tanjiro hadn't mastered the right breathing style for it yet. Its low durability in that fight, it proved it wasn't ready for the big leagues of the Demon Slayer Corps. So it's a great starting weapon, sure, but it's easily the weakest one we see Tanjiro carry. Kanao Sayori's pink katana. Now, a lot of people look at the bright pink color and think it's just for show, but there's actually a lot more to it than just the aesthetic, guys. While Tanjiro's first sword broke under pressure, Kanao's blade actually held up through some of the most intense battles in the entire series, including her massive fight against Upper Moon 2, Doma. It's a standard katana design, but it's perfectly balanced for her flower breathing style, which relies on speed and agility rather than hacking away at a demon. Now, the reason this ranks higher than Tanjiro's starting sword is because of its reliability and compatibility with the user. Kanao uses this blade alongside her equinoctial vermilion eye, an ability that lets her predict opponents' movements and see the world in slow motion. The sword and ability, they both work perfectly in sync with another. While the sword is not unique or completely indestructible, its reliability proves it's a high-quality weapon that survived until the very end, proving it's way tougher than it looks. Inosuke Hashibira's dual-chipped katanas. Now guys, we got the most disrespectful sword to a blacksmith in the entire show, Inosuke's dual-chipped katanas. And if you're a blacksmith, looking at these blades is basically a nightmare. Believe me, Inosuke and the other swordsmen almost had a heart attack when he saw what Inosuke did to them. He literally took a rock and smashed the edges of perfectly good swords just to give them that jagged saw-like look. But there is a method to his madness, guys. Inosuke doesn't fight like a traditional swordsman. He fights like an animal, combined with his self-made beast breathing. Now, these blades rank at 12 because they are the ultimate custom weapon. The serrated edges are designed for his beast breathing, allowing him to rip and tear through demon flesh that might be too tough for a standard blade to bite into. It's effective, but the reason it's not higher is simple: structural integrity. By chipping the blade himself, he's technically damaging the sword and making it less efficient for a clean, one-shot decapitation. It's perfect for Inosuke's wild style, but it's definitely one of the most unconventional weapons on this list. Giyu Tomioka's blue katana. Now, if you just look at his sword at first glance, it looks pretty basic compared to some of the crazy designs we see later on. It's a standard-shaped katana without any weird gimmicks, but honestly, that's exactly why it's so high on this list. This is the definition of simple, but effective. Giyu is one of the most disciplined Hashira in the entire series, and his blade, it's the gold standard for reliability. It doesn't have any jagged edges or special poisons, it's just a high-quality weapon that has stood up to some of the strongest demons, including Akaza. Now, it ranks here because it represents the absolute peak of a normal Nichirin blade. It's perfect for the fluid, calm strikes of water breathing, but it lacks the specialized factors that the swords in our top 10 have. Kyojuru Rengoku. Now, even if you've only seen a few episodes of the show, you know this iconic sword. That flame-shaped handguard is one of the most recognizable designs in the entire series, and it basically symbolizes the heart of the Demon Slayer Corps. But here is the thing, even though it looks like it's made of literal fire, it's still technically a standard build. It doesn't have the bright red ability that the swords higher up on this list have, which is why it sits right at number 11. This blade represents the spirit and legacy of the Flame Hashira. It was forged to handle the extreme heat and explosive power of flame breathing, and it's one of the few standard katanas that could stand its ground against a Kaza without shattering. It's a legendary weapon for a legendary hero, but in terms of raw technical power, the swords coming up next have just a bit more of a special edge, pun intended. Zenitsu Agatsuma's iconic yellow blade. You've definitely seen that lightning bolt pattern running down the side, and honestly, it's one of the most recognizable designs in the entire series. But y'all believe me, that pattern isn't just there to look cool, it's actually a warning of how much power this sword is holding. We're in the top 10 after all. Most people think Zenitsu is just a comic relief character, but his sword, it has to handle some of the most extreme physics in the show. The reason this outranks Goku's blade is all about specialized performance. When Zenitsu uses Godspeed, he is moving so fast, he's basically breaking the sound barrier. A normal katana would probably snap or even melt from the sheer friction and G-force of that movement. This sword is specifically forged to act like a railgun. It's high conductivity and built to survive the most explosive high-velocity strikes in the Demon Slayer world. Obanai Igoro's Serpentine Katana. If you look at this blade, it doesn't even look like a sword though. It looks like a metal snake. It's got these wavy, coiling curves that seem like they would be impossible to fight with. But for the Serpent Hashira, that's exactly the point. Most slayers, they attack in straight lines or simple arcs, but Obanai's sword moves in ways that completely defy physics. This blade, it ranks higher because it's the ultimate skill weapon. The wavy design allows Obanai to bend his strikes around a demon's sword or their shield. It makes his attacks completely unpredictable. You think you've blocked a strike, but nope, the blade literally coils around your defense to find your neck. You're decapitated before you even know it. It's so effective that it was one of the key weapons used to keep Muzan off balance during the final battle. And you can't just pick this up and use it either. It requires a level of mastery that very few slayers will ever reach. Mitsuri Kanroji's Whip Sword. This thing, guys, it's honestly mind-blowing because it's so thin that it doesn't even stay straight when she holds it, but instead, it coils and moves just like a ribbon. Now, don't let the soft look fool you though. This blade is actually one of the most dangerous weapons on the list, not just for demons, but for the user too. If anyone other than Mitsuri tried to swing this, they'd probably end up cutting themselves before they even hit the enemy.
なんて形の刀なんだ。早すぎて目で追うのも難しい。あの刀のしなりのおかげなのか。凄まじい弾力だ。作った刀鍛冶もすごいし、扱える甘露寺さんはもっとすごい。
This sword ranks so high because it completely changes the range of a sword fight. While most slayers have to get up close and personal, Mitsuri can use this like a whip to strike from a distance. That's pretty clever. Because it's so thin though, it moves even faster than a regular blade, allowing her to unleash a flurry of attacks that are basically impossible to dodge. It's a specialized tool that only works because of Mitsuri's insane muscle flexibility, making it a one-of-a-kind weapon that most demons have no idea how to counter. Tengen Izui's dual-linked cleavers. Now, if you thought the other swords were big, then these things are on a completely different level. They're so massive, they look more like butcher knives than katanas, and they're connected by a heavy iron chain that allows Tengen to swing them with a massive spinning range. But the real secret isn't just their size, it's the fact that these blades are walking explosions. These kick-ass cleavers, they rank this high because they aren't just for cutting, they're built for demolition. Tengen coats these blades in a specialized gunpowder so that every single strike causes a massive detonation upon impact. When you combine that with his musical score technique, he can turn a fight into a rhythmic explosion that most demons literally cannot survive. It's pure heavy artillery in sword form, making it one of the most physically destructive weapons we've ever seen a Hashira carry. Shinobu Kocho's Stinger. If you look closely, this blade is missing almost its entire cutting edge. The truth is, Shinobu's blade is basically a giant lethal needle. Now, you might be thinking, what? Isn't the whole point of being a slayer to cut off a demon's head? And, well, truth be told, Shinobu is the only Hashira who actually lacks the physical strength to decapitate a demon. But believe me, that doesn't make her less dangerous. It actually forced her to create a weapon that is arguably more terrifying than a standard sword.
柱の中で唯一鬼の首が切れない剣士ですが、鬼を殺せる毒を作った。
Instead of relying on a clean cut, the tip of this sword is designed to inject massive doses of lethal wisteria poison directly into a demon's bloodstream. This blade ranks just above the top 5 because it completely breaks the rules of the Demon Slayer world. It's an assassin's tool, and it outranks the heavy hitters below it because it gives the user the ability to kill an upper moon without ever even needing to overpower them physically. It's all about high-tech lethality, and in the right hands, just like Shinobu's, it's a game changer. Sanemi Shinazugawa's Green Katana. This is Sanemi Shinazugawa's Green Katana, and just like its owner, this sword is incredibly aggressive. If you look at the design, it's sharp, jagged, and looks like it was built specifically for the most violent fighter at the core. But the real reason this sits so high on the list isn't just about how sharp it is, it's about what happened during the final battles against the Upper Moons. What makes this sword a true top-tier weapon is its bright red potential. During the most intense moments of the fight against Upper Rank 1, Sanemi was able to clash his blade with enough force to turn it bright red. This is a massive game changer though, because a red blade doesn't just cut, it burns. It stops a demon's ability to heal its wounds, which is the only reason the Slayers were able to survive against the strongest demons. This sword is a pure offensive powerhouse that stood up to the absolute best, and it didn't break. Muichiro Tokiro. Now, at first glance, this sword looks exactly like Giyu's or any other standard blade, just with a different color. But don't let the simple look fool you, because this sword is wielded by a prodigy, and it's responsible for some of the most insane feats in the entire series. As he shows his sword, as he shows his sword, as he shows his sword. While other Slayers were struggling just to keep up, Muichiro was out here making history with this blade. Now, what puts this sword in the top 4 is that Muichiro was the first Slayer of the modern era to turn his blade bright red solo. He didn't need to clash it with another sword as Sanemi did. He did it through sheer grip strength and pure will. That bright red transformation is the ultimate anti-demon power because it stops regeneration and burns them from the inside out. This blade, guys, it was used to solo Upper Moon 5 and played a massive role in taking down Upper Moon 1, making it one of the most effective weapons in history. Kokoshibo's Flesh Katana. Now, this isn't a normal sword made by a blacksmith, no. This blade is actually a part of Kokoshibo's own body. It's made from his flesh, his blood, and his bones. That is metal as hell. And if you look closely at the blade, you'll see it's covered in hundreds of tiny twitching eyes. That isn't just to look scary, it actually helps Kokoshibo track his opponent's movements from angles that should be impossible. This sword takes the number 3 spot because it's a biological nightmare. Since it's made of flesh, it can regenerate instantly if it's broken. But wait, because that's not even the best part. During the fight with the Hashira, we see that this blade can literally grow. It sprouts extra branches and blades from the sides, turning into a massive jagged weapon that allows for moon-breathing attacks that no human sword could ever replicate. Y'all, it's the ultimate evil weapon, and it's the only reason Kokoshibo was able to take on multiple Hashira at the same time. Tanjiro's final weapon. This blade, it was actually hidden inside the Yoriichi Type 0 mechanical doll for centuries. When Tanjiro finally got his hands on it, it was a rusted relic, but after being polished by Hagenezuka, it became the ultimate tool for the modern era. This sword outranks almost everything because it's the only modern blade that can consistently handle the power of sun breathing. During the battle, Tanjiro was able to force this blade into its bright red state using his Demon Slayer mark. It was the primary weapon used to finally bring down Muzan after 1,000 years of war. It's the perfect successor to the number 1 spot, but there's still one blade that even this one can't technically beat. Yoriichi Sokoguni's historical blade. This is the original Nichirin sword, and truth be told, it's in a league of its own. While every other slayer on this list has to work to turn their blade red, Yoriichi was just built differently. This is the only blade in history that stays permanently bright red. The moment Yoriichi grips it, it doesn't just cut demons, it burns them at a cellular level, preventing them from healing indefinitely. Even hundreds of years after Yoriichi died, the scars he left on Muzan with his blade were still burning. It's the only weapon Muzan is genuinely traumatized by, and it represents the absolute peak of swordsmanship. Believe me when I say, no other sword in the series can match its historical significance or its raw god-tier power. And so guys, that is every major sword in Demon Slayer ranked. I know some of you might think Kokoshibo's flesh sword should have been number 1 because of how crazy it is, but at the end of the day, you can't argue with the blade that literally gave the King of Demons PTSD. But if you agree with this list, or if you think I ranked your favorite Hashida's blade too low, let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there replying to as many of you as I can. But don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button for more rankings just like this one. But thank you all so much for watching, commenting, and have a good one. Bye!